Showing excellent connection. It looks like I'm live, so let's do our standard entry. Oh boy, peeps. How many Aquarians do we have? Oh my God, the energy's crazy. I want to know, how was everybody's surf week? And I'm checking the audio. It looks like I'm a little bit too high on the volume. Make sure that's good. I want to tell you a little bit about my surf week. Remember, it is the shadow work, right? And just because we have a little bit of time, we'll wait for some folks to show up. I took it to an extreme. And the first thing I did was I noticed, well, it wasn't like my choice. It just happened to be the big course that I'm taking for an international certification, and it's intense, very intense. It's a hypnotherapy. It's I want to say alternative, transpersonal hypnotherapy certification, international. And so obviously we go through the protocols, but also we practice giving the hypnotherapy in that certain regime. So anyway, a lot of shadow work there. And then I'm doing it on a 4-day fast. And that first day, it was indicative. I've done periodic fasts. I fast every day for like intermittent fasting, but I also do long-term fasting. Okay, this is one of those weeks. And anyway, that first day felt like I had the flu. I was really worried I was doing damage to my body because I had never felt that flu before, even though I'm very experienced in fasting. And so anyway, I think it's just the toxic release. I did not prepare for the fasting. So if you're doing fasting, peeps, I highly recommend that you do the correct preparation. Okay, so that's enough for that. And then all of you who are sort of feeling like there's nothing going on, I found a video. Now, I posted on Telegram, so go to Telegram, and there is proof. To me, it looks like hardcore proof that there are arrests that have already happened. Now, someone said that it was a sort of an older video, so take that with a grain of salt. But nonetheless, I think there's a lot of things happening. And if you look at the astrology, it confirms my intuition. I mean, how can there be that much stuff happening in the sky, all squared up and all that pressure and conflict, and yet nothing's happening? Everything's just peachy keen. I don't think so. I think there's a lot going on underneath the radar. All right, I'm ready to go get started on this surf week. This is going to be a little bit longer report. I'm probably going to be a little bit wordy, but for the newbies, or for anyone really, you're looking for two main things. All right. Don't get distracted from these two main things. The first one is the influence. We start with a triangulation of what are you going to feel? What is everyone going to feel? And then towards the end of the video, we're going to triangulate for the solution. In other words, what behaviors should you use in order to maximize or get the most out of what we're feeling? And so you can use your little slider if you're, it's probably, I don't know, because I'm going to do like a question and answer afterwards, maybe a miniature one, not real long, but this one will be a little bit longer. So let's go ahead and get started. And, need to do this. A lot of things happening here. Whoopsie. Wrong. There we go. All right, here's our overview, and let me just check in first. So everything seemed like it's okay. I don't see any complaints or anything. All right, so I'll keep pressing, and the volume. It looks like the volume is better. Someone tell me about the volume as I'm waiting. Okay, so here is the overall triangulation. It is pretty interesting, and I see where I left out a little bit of the highlight. I didn't delete it all. But anyway, we have pretty much a pretty good overlap. And it looks, if you look at the I-Ching, it looks like, they're at it again. They're dividing They're dividing the population. They're dividing the collective. And that's what I thought until I did the triangulation. And, obviously we've got the new moon. Where's all the planets right now? We're going to talk about that, but all in Aquarius. And then there's a couple other energies that are in Gemini. So you've got a total of 8 planet energy points in the sky that are all in the air signs. And so this whole thing of freedom is a big thing with Aquarians. Individuality. Yes, they are concerned about the collective good, but look at what we're dealing with here. It's an individual level thing. Now, when we get into the Dreambot, we have a clear concept of just time. It's like the time continuum that's in there, but also a very clear meme called the Awakening or the Great Awakening. Now, my intuition says that it has to do more with the individual awakening. It's an individual thing. And that's why we're having these diverging interests. Everyone's going their individual way, which is a really good thing. It's when we start judging others and preventing others from being themselves. That's where we're running into problems. We have a lot going on in the astrology. We'll cover those day by day. And let's see. Well, Mercury retrograde. That one's the interesting one. Mercury retrograde in relation to all the other planets that are in Aquarius. We're going to cover that as well. Okay, I think that's good. Let's go ahead and get started. We'll start with the Dreambot first. Okay, there we go. Sorry, I got sidetracked by no one says not seeing or hearing anything yet. Not sure why. Is everyone's okay? All right, we've got a thumbs up. All right, here's the Dreambot. Let's move in. And oh my gosh, this is just nuts. I got a lot to say on this Dreambot. All right. First, for the new folks, this is the collective unconscious as close as we can get to it. It takes everybody's dreams. It matches all the words. And it says Mayan is the highest surging word in everybody's dreams last night or the last 24 hours. So Mayan, that's a 97.5 search score. That's the highest search score we've seen probably, I'm guessing about 4 to 6 months. That's a pretty high score. Why is there so much on Mayan? And I knew it. I knew I'd forget something. I had it in my Chrome browser, some Mayan headlines. They're pretty big. And there's like a railroad that got canceled, but then, they found some sort of skeleton or a mask of some sort from the Mayan ruins I didn't have time to read the article. Sorry. But look up Mayan and see if there's something in the collective. But think about Mayan in terms of, remember 2012, Mayan calendar and all that, and shifting in every thousands of years and all that. I think that's what we have here too, because we have everything else, February, even the word missed, like you missed a date, missed a birthday, that sort of thing. Year, February, Wednesday, recent 2016. There's a variety of different timelines. So this is a big timeline theme in the collective right now. And then we have the green arrows. This is where it feels empowered and it feels awakening. There's the word awakening, smile, shred, ahead. It's like power ahead and up and forward, task oriented. It's motivated. So take it or leave it, but that sort of looks, it's not a real cognitive thing in this meme. It's more of a action-oriented awakening, which could be still an awakening. And then with an emphasis, check this out, an emphasis on missing. So you have missed and missing all in the same run. And of course, where mind is going is the human trafficking problem that we have. Oops, not allowed to say that. Here we go. Here's the cool things about the linguistics here. I have linguistics set number 1. It says year poop at naked. Sorry, I couldn't read that last word. Year poop naked. And boy, that doesn't look good for this year. And it has a vulnerable take. Naked in dreams is feeling very vulnerable. Obviously, poop is undesirable, smelly, stinky, funky, and then year. And I think this is just day residue. I don't necessarily think this is predictive, but if you look at the mass media and even the alternative media, for God's sakes, if you look at alternative media, I'm really starting to get tired and burn out of just media. And it's been a nice change of pace for me to basically being taken away from all my screens for most of the day in this intense training. So and then linguistic set number 2, awakening, smile, shred ahead, calm. Oh, I like that one a lot better. And so we've got 2 sort of dichotomous linguistic sets, and I'm going to go with option number 2. I don't know about you, but I highly encourage you to do the same, because we do create our reality, right? It's not just predicting. It's not there for us. All righty, here we go. Here's the astrology. Whew, there's so much, guys. There's so much astrology. I'm going to try to simplify it, and we can, because there's a lot of patterns that are happening. But just to give you an overview, Venus is in Aquarius, and that's going to last for the majority of February. And then Mercury, as you know, goes... Wait, let me get this little guy on. Mercury is in retrograde and goes direct in the next CIRF report, next CIRF week, and then remains in Aquarius. And then the sun is going to finish off. The sun is a major part of this week's energy with the new moon. I mean, you can't have a new moon without sun and moon together. And they're both in Aquarius. But at the end of this CIRF week, boom. No, actually at the very first start of next week. And so the major part of the CIRF energy, hint, hint, this is the foot stomper. The energy for the CIRF report is more aligned with, or higher levels are felt towards the beginning of the week. That means on Thursday, the 11th, and then, probably stays high a few days, as you'll see. And then it starts to tailor off, and then almost like goes bye-bye right at the end of the week. So it's very firm there. We have this really neat conjunction with Jupiter and Saturn. It was magical. And this just shows, you see it's getting lighter and lighter. It's tailoring off. And by the end of February, we won't have, it'll be finished. That transformation of the status quo, the positive, not necessarily transformation, but the optimistic status quo, or the optimistic structure, or however you want to put those words together, the wise structure or whatever. It shows red for conjunctions. I don't necessarily like that. I suppose I could change that if I wanted to, but I don't find that necessarily to be a negative thing. I think it's just another third being, if you will, or a combined flavors, vanilla and chocolate combined together, is still delicious, but it's like a third different flavor. So anyway, then we have the Mars sextile Neptune. It's going to be one of the few opportunities you have this week, and we're going to focus on this, but it goes exact on the 13th. And then the Mars trine Pluto, which begins this week, begins the conjunction, is not going to go exact, but it's going to be a predominant feature in next week, the next 2 weeks of CIRF reports. Okay. Here we go. Here's the new moon. We're starting off with a bang. Look at all that writing on here. Oops, I didn't mean to do that. Where do we begin? Well, let's start with this. Right there. New moon. 23 degrees, 17 minutes Aquarius. It looks like it's in Pisces, but my software is limited by the size of the symbols. So it's spilling over, and you can see that little faint line. That's where it, it's just the end of the symbols because they're all crunched in there, don't have enough room. But anyway, 23 degrees, 17 minutes in Aquarius. I'm thinking that Leos might be struggling with this energy more than Aquarians. No, Sun doesn't really like being in Aquarius. It's in detriment, obviously, home to Leo. The opposite sign is over there, and so Sun is in detriment, but that doesn't take anything back from the new moon. This is a new moon cycle in independence, collective good, friendships, aspirations, everything the Aquarians, the logic and mentality of Aquarians. That's the new cycle. And so it absolutely makes sense when we compare this to the I-Ching, which we will do. There's a lot more going on here. Where do I want to go from here? I would just notice these squares here. Remember what we've been dealing with. Now, caveat that with the squares are going to start off the week very small. There's only 3 here, 3 or 4. And then by the end of the week, we get back to this robust thing, which is all conflicted and everything. So feel the difference this week. Feel less pressure, less conflict, hopefully. And that's going to be within this internal battle because, Mars, I already mentioned about the Sun in detriment, but Mars is also home to Scorpio, rules Scorpio. And so he's an opposite end and he's in detriment. We've been talking about this for a couple of weeks. He's weakened, but he's extra weakened by a black moon Lilith who's within parameters for a conjunction. So great. We have if you've got your yang feeling like it's dying, which could be that way, you might feel like you're lazier or more anxious or more confused about what I need to be doing, that sort of thing. It's like your yang is weakened. And so however you want to interpret that. And then it's squared to all this other stuff over in Aquarius. So even with these squares, which are only 3, you've got 6 other planets in Aquarius and then 2 energies or points in the sky that are significant, the North Node and the part of Fortune. They're together in Gemini. So there's a lot of air the first couple days. So a lot of air and a lot less conflict. This is nice. They're real nice, especially if you have Sun or Ascendant in Aquarius. You can enjoy all that energy. Now, caveats here. The first thing I want to show you is this conjunction. It is fortunate to think about the future. Gemini is very mental, logic, a lot of thoughts, air sign, friendly, can adapt quickly, that sort of thing. There's obviously downsides to too much of that energy, such as, like racing thoughts, maybe sometimes impulsive, too speedy, acts before thinks, that sort of thing. But this time around, it's fortunate, that's a part of fortune, to think about the future. And now we take that all the way around, but you say, oh crap, we've got Mars in retrograde, and doesn't the past come up with Mercury retrograde? I said Mars, I meant Mercury. Mercury retrograde. Yes, the past comes up, but it's not like it's fate. It's not like you're a victim of it. I'm showing you the energy. The energy might be having you think about the past, but you can, with good awareness of that, you can direct it then to the future. You say, oh, hello, past. I think I'm going to think about the future. All right, I see a collapse of my stream. And, that's weird. Did I get Did I get banned? Am I still going? It says I'm still going. That's interesting. This graph looks ominous. When I said at the beginning, okay, now it just updated. Wow, weird. All right. Continue. I'm still getting used to this live thing. So you might be showing a lot of the past energy in your mind, but you can be aware of that. Say thank you, Mercury retrograde, and then move to the future. Think about the future. And why that's important too is you have another opportunity here with Mars and sextile Neptune. We got into this last CIRF report. Here's the opportunity. That's the sextile. It indicates opportunity. Is even though your yang feels destroyed or feels helpless, we'll explore a little bit more of that archetype here in a second. But even though it feels weak, you can take that weakness and sink into the dreams. And it's an opportunity. And you can go dreams about the future, right? You can intentionally dream. I don't have time to talk about all the intentional dreaming, but it's there too. One more thing. You've got Venus and Jupiter, right? Together. They're not parallel. So they're not going to be in the same piece of sky, but they're going to be together in that same longitude. So that's pretty cool. And that's very optimistic for relationships. I can't remember where they are in terms of Valentine's Day. That's coming up in 3 days from here. They may or may not be in conjunction. We'll look at that. If I forget, remind me. And anything. And well, yeah, we'll talk about that next. Now this pressure. Okay, this is an important one because this is going to last for a while. When all the other squares finally die away, the one that's going to stay is Uranus square Saturn. So it's important to recognize that at least this week. So it's going to be here for a while. It's the pressure to change the status quo, change Uranus and status quo as Saturn. Or you can think about as this is the rebel against the establishment. You can gain insight about hardship. There's a lot of different ways you can look at that square, but it's not a bad thing. Got to remember, squares aren't bad. It's conflicted, it's pressured, and eventually something better arises out of it, assuming that we make the right choices with that energy. Let's move into Friday. This is the 12th. Oh, there's a lot less to talk about. Great. That was a lot. Okay, the other thing that's going to be around for the next couple CIRF reports is this Mars trine Pluto. Now, this is not just Mars. Remember, it's a weekend in detriment. Black Moon Lilith, Mars. So and remember the energy from Pluto. And what is the trine? It's easy energy. So you've got easy energy from, oh my God, everything's collapsing and dying. Oh my God, catastrophe. It's the destroyer. And then on this side is pretty much the same thing with the combination of the two archetypes here. So boy, that's going to be probably a disastrous day. It might be easy to feel defeated, helpless, maybe like the world is dying, but if this is an individual thing because of all that Aquarian energy, it might feel like you're dying or you are, I hate to say it, maybe suicidality goes up in this case. And if you do feel suicidal, please seek some help, okay? You owe it to yourself and your loved ones and all of us in this NDC family. Okay, Saturday, the 13th. Extra dreamy. We've got the moon transiting and hitting Neptune. We don't focus a lot on the moon just because it transits so fast around that. Even in 1 week, it transits pretty far. But this one's important because it makes it extra dreamy. And remember, now we've got 2 sextiles over to Mars. And so Mars, we can take our weakened self or our lazy self or however you want to formulate that and just surrender and just sink into this dream world. And there's lucid dreaming, there's intentional dreaming, there's even telepathic dreaming. So look all those up if any of those sound interesting to you. And then we have Venus conjunct Mercury. Why do I have these? Okay, so all these are conjunct, and that just leaves for just a whole lot of Aquarian energy. That's a cop-out, I know. I could have worked really hard to create a new entity here for you, but that's a lot. There's harmony in there. There's peace, except she's conflicted with a square. So, there's relationships, there's mental stuff, logic, communication, and then there's wisdom. It's kind of the finale of Jupiter and Saturn. That's pretty much not a thing anymore. Jupiter just moves so much faster. Here it is, Valentine's Day. Didn't I hear that the whole heart thing was a sort of a pagan basis? I got to get me a drink of water. With fasting, I'm only doing water, tea. I did do a little coffee this morning with a little bit of MCT oil. That was it. Otherwise, I'm focusing on magnesium, potassium, keep my electrolytes high with Himalayan salt in some of my water. And I got to tell you, that first day was awful, was horrid. But by today, so we started on Sunday night was the last meal, and then all day Monday. Monday night was awful. Felt like I had the flu. And then by tonight, so I feel really good. I feel really good, other than just a dry tongue. Talk about detox, though. Man, we've been detoxing. Right, Ange? Give me thumbs up, Ange. I know you're watching. All right. Sunday the 14th is, look at that, Valentine's Day. And, sorry, we got Venus square Mars. We already talked about the male side of us. Look how close Black Moon Lilith is now. Oh, my God. So, girls, gals, don't expect a whole lot from your male lovers, all right? It doesn't mean to just ignore Valentine's Day. It's just bring the bar down, all right? It's just an energy. They might get over. You might have a dude that just flies through this period, no problem. And that's my intention, but, and dudes, don't make excuses. If you feel this energy, as long as you're aware of it, you can change it. This is not fate. All right, so this is the energy that the females might feel. We use the Venus archetype. Aquarian Venus is a little bit more distant, still friendly, but a little bit more detached from the relationship. Okay, so seeing things a little bit more from the distance. For the males, you're going to feel probably, maybe some self-doubt, or maybe what the equivalent of feeling low testosterone, maybe depressed, unmotivated, that sort of thing, sluggish, and maybe egocentric, caught in their own heads or own experience or own struggles because Mars in detriment. So don't be surprised if you feel those energies. And interesting that the later part of this day, Venus will be at 17 degrees Aquarius. Cool, eh? On Monday, the 15th, let's see, we pick up another square. There's only 4 there. 1, 2, there's only 3 there. Sorry, never mind. It's a little bit later. We have the moon transiting Aries over Chiron. My gosh, we've hardly talked about Chiron. I don't know how it's kind of a dichotomy here, because you've got your emotions are ready to fire with the fire energy of Aries and impulsiveness and maybe even some selfishness to sprinkle in there. But then Mars has just like been whipped over the ass by Black Moon Lilith and raked over the coals. So I don't know. That'll be interesting. Let me know how you guys feel that day. That's February 15th, day after Valentine's Day. On Tuesday, supposedly Mardi Gras. And the only thing I could find here was, Party Central is Leo. That's part of fortune is in Leo. That's very fortunate to be curious and childlike and wonderment and curious. So, yeah. And Leo rules the house for entertainment and that sort of thing. So have at it. If we have one, I heard the floats are canceled and all that, but there's one more square in here, as you can see. So we're up to 4, and then we'll increase on the next day, but same sort of energy outlay. On Wednesday, we have the moon coming into this mix, moon over Uranus, and look at all those squares because the moon's coming in and squaring all these things in Aquarius, where she just was in Aquarius with a new moon. And now she's over here squaring where she left off. So a lot more pressure here. And by the way, this is Sun's last day in Aquarius. So sort of, it's not a good thing or whatever, but it just is what it is. Sun is in detriment in Aquarius, and it's just out there and hard to be itself. It's afraid to be seen, sort of a thing. Just a weird place for the sun. And then it's not like it's much better in Pisces, but at least it's not weakened. And so anyway, we'll get to that CIRF report next week. We have a couple archetypes here. So you can have fast changing emotions on February 17th. Or you might have genius coming through your emotions, because Uranus is sort of an eccentric genius. He's the inventor. All right, but unfortunately, a lot of pressure, conflict, friction, all that stuff. And I don't know about you. I just think this last CIRF day is going to feel like you're in trouble, or the collective is in trouble. But since our energy starts with an individuality, I would imagine you feel like very separated away from the collective, and then it feels like trouble. So now, just because you have this feeling or influence doesn't mean you have to succumb to it. That's why we're giving you a heads up on what it feels like. One more thing on the influence. It's the I-Ching. Let me take this off. When I threw the coins out, it said 38. It's fire over lake. And I said, interesting. What the heck is the fire over lake? Well, diverging interests. And, I initially thought when I was doing this, when I figured out it was diverging interests, I said, of course. Divide and conquer is how they manage people. But I'm pretty convinced now, after the triangulation process, that I was wrong. It's an individual thing, and we finally get to believe what we want. We finally get to seek what we want. Now, those are more behaviors, but this is the influence of diverging interests. So it goes right along with Aquarius. Some level of estrangement is indicated. The points of view, values, interest, and schedules diverge. When diverging interests make a situation seem stagnant or futile, thinking Mars and Black Moon Lilith together, that's really feeling futile and stagnant. So that's what we have here. Divergent interest, make a situation seem stagnant or futile. Remember that there are always creative possibilities inherent in polarities. And that's what the squares offer us, is a chance to really break out, invent new things. That's discomfort, and humans resolve discomfort as a core motivator for behavior. And so with all those squares, you can expect a lot of discomfort, a lot of inventions are coming out of that. In fact, I think humanity, one of the downsides, one of the trade-offs to all these resolving discomforts over the thousands of years is that we have little ability to handle discomfort anymore. I mean, heck, you have a whole generation of anxiety patients, general anxiety, and they give out benzodiazepines like candy, which is worse than the opiates. All right, line 3. This is the line of Murphy's Law. Isn't that what you guys wanted to hear? Everything that could go wrong has gone wrong. It may seem at times that the universe is conspiring against you, but when opposition to progress is at its peak, an opening soon emerges. Remember this? Just wait. Just be patient. Yeah, I'm tired of being patient, but it's in the I-Ching reading. Line 6 at the top. Estrangement can arise from a failure to clearly perceive the world. Oh my gosh, this is at an all-time world history. This is the highest in world history right now, is failure to clearly perceive the world. I think we're being subjected to multiple types of clearly disinformation and psyops, and then like, who's right? These people, these groups are calling fake news, and this fake news, and everything's fake news. And man, I think just tuning out completely just feels really good. Just use your intuition and get off the timeline thing. Maybe that's the Dreambot, is get off the timeline thing. It'll be when it's time, and then your intuition will tune in and say, it's done. All right, ready? Oh, don't went too far. We have a sponsor. Hold on. All right, shifting to the other camera. Hi, everybody. Man, thanks for being here. We're going to get into the solution now. Our goal and intention is to triangulate now for the solution. So we're shifting gears. But before we do this, if you are having sort of problems, navigating this week, and you need to seek help, there is help at intervention.com, licensed therapy, and that's where the hub of the incredible hypnotherapy is going to be. Hypnotherapy is available, by the way, but the really good stuff will be sort of later March, because this is an extensive program and certification process. But anyway, lots of help available for you, including astrology readings. All right, enough said. Solution 34, the good news: when you make those change lines, there's a lot of yang at the bottom. That's a nice base. Not a lot of good foundation, strong foundation, and it's great vigor. Oh, that feels really good. And it all makes sense when we take the tropical astrology and calculate in and find out where it is in the sidereal. It's all going to flow perfectly. Congratulations, it says. There is strength and vigor in this situation. That's what I want to hear. Finally, no more shadow work, no more just laying around and seeing the past and resolving issues. Ugh. Now it's time to get out there and knock stuff down and free ourselves from captivity. That's in quotes. Free himself from captivity. Notice too, a ram. You're going to need this a little bit later when we get to the other solution. The ram is a four-legged beast that loves mountains. All right. There's another zodiacal sign that matches that. There's two actually. So one of them is similar. All right. And free himself. That's very Aquarian. Therefore, a shift in attitude becomes necessary to persevere in what is right and just. Let your strength be tempered by wisdom. That's the Aquarian influence. It's going to really help you, is that wisdom from, the secret on Aquarians is that they know. They don't just believe, they know that they know everything. That's a little secret. I shouldn't have told you. But I don't really necessarily, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. And that's what wisdom brings to you, even as an Aquarian. If you find yourself in an influential position, it is important to act responsible and react with care. Power must not be allowed to degenerate into raw force that rides roughshod over everything in its path. A strong sense of responsibility for the collective good. That's the Aquarian little fine print. We like the collective too. For the collective good is the key to the successful exercise of power. Yes, of course, we all know this. Arrogance contains the seeds of its own undoing. Don't be arrogant. All right. Now, you ready for the calculator? This is really cool how this turned out. All right, there's the ram. All right, but there's another four-legged beast. There's a couple of four-legged beasts that like to be in the mountains, and that's the goat. Yeah, rams aren't goats, yes, but very related, right? Work with me here. And anyway, you take this new moon in Aquarius, you follow the lines to where it is, 23 degrees, Aquarius, that's tropical, and we end up in 49 on the Rave Mandala. That's from Human Design. So we're going to read that next. And then we have you go out to the night sky. Well, you can't see the new moon, but if you could, well, it's right where the sun is, which means you can't see what constellation it's in. But if you did, then the sun would be in Capricorn. That's why the Siderealists that are doing this now are calling it a Capricorn new moon. They're not wrong. How in the world are we able to do 3 different kinds of zodiacs? You're not allowed to do that. Well, you know why? Because I'm myself. I'm weird like that. I'm unique. And I say you can, because the internal tropical is the ancient influence. We all know it. It's the ancient influence that never changes. The seasons change based on the cardinal signs, right? Aries and all the rest. So that's the influence. It influences us when the leaves change. But that's not the solution. The solution is back with where it is in the sky. And the solution is equated to your behaviors, your mannerisms, a little bit of your intentions is a little bit in the middle. But we're talking about your actions, right? And it's in Capricorn. And so that's how we assimilate all of this. And you're going to see how it seems like every freaking week, the Rave Mandala is neither commensurate with it's not purely in the tropical, but it's not in the sidereal either. It's by itself, but it's in the middle. It's like a meshment between the two. It is just incredible how this has worked out. All right, here we go. Here's 49, the gate of principles. This is the gate of revolution. Now it is very commensurate with Aquarius. That's why 49 is in the tropical Aquarius, according to Rave Mandala. Revolution is the potential awareness to know what and whom is needed or not to maintain or restructure the community. So back to the collective sense here. When determined by emotional energy, the revolution follows the wave of hope and pain. The hope of power to the people becomes the pain of starvation in the gulag. You heard it here, folks. That's the Rave Mandala. Man, I think if you don't see anything in the news, alternative or otherwise, I'm pretty sure based on this hexagram that a lot of crap is going down under the table. All right. Ready for the solution. Here it is. Okay, now, did I mention this before, where the individuality can be extended? This is the sign of Aquarius. Aquarius, by the way, has water. What the heck is an air sign? I thought it was an air sign, but it's holding water. It's pouring water. What is the water? In this case, the water isn't emotions. It's knowledge and wisdom. And that's what Aquarian energy affords. And you might want to throw in disclosure there, transparency. It's hard to hide as an Aquarian, but ooh, do they want to? They want to hide all the time. They hate attention. Don't look at me. Don't look at me. But we want to give that wisdom to the collective good. So yeah, it's individuality, and that's important for today, but it's more just about the general Aquarian energy. Got to be honest here. All right, so that's the energy that most of us will feel. We have now, this is the solution. We're going to triangulate here. So remember, we've got I-Ching 34, great vigor. The collective has had enough. It's revolution time. Maintain humility while tapping into your power. Rave Mandala 49. Oh, I'm sorry. The Rave Mandala said it's revolution time. So the great vigor adds to this whole revolution theme. So it's tapping into the power. That's the direct overlap. I-Ching 34 says we're getting into our power, but maintain humility. And then the Rave says it's revolution time. Now you guys know me. I'm not calling for any sort of violence or overthrow. None of my readers, listeners want to do that. I am confident with that. But what if everything changes in this week? What if? And the community would also have to change. Doesn't mean that we have to do it. You focus on yourself, and that is in the individuality of Aquarian, okay? But Sidereal, you bring in the Capricorn energy, which is ambitious, prudent, responsible, goal-oriented, and disciplined. That's what we want to focus on this week in terms of behavior. So here's the overall summary. And this includes a little bit of the influence. Expect more or extreme parting of the collective Red Seas. Now, I don't think it's just a simple, it's not just a simple divide and conquer. There's only two sides. This is splintering in hopefully as many little particles as we can. Individual beings going off into their own beliefs and own ideals and own power. That's warranted this week. That's what you're going to see. It's not just a simple, two sides thing. All right. It's kind of like throwing a piece of china on the ground. You got all these little itty bitty, shards going everywhere. That's what this energy is. Beliefs, ideology, expectations, riches, etc. Everything is individualized. The Aquarian new moon brings collective good, but also individuality. Time to use knowledge to inform your power. Use ambitious sidereal Capricorn as the solution because of its responsibility, discipline, goals, and prudence. It's not the time to be just laying around. Yeah, I know the Yang and the Mars is in detriment and all that, and Black Moon Lilith, but you're going to have to find energy and motivation to get stuff done. This is the week. This could be the biggest divide between the influence which you feel and getting out there and being able to perform the behaviors. This might be the biggest challenge, especially for, probably the Taurus folks, Taurus strong folks might be at a very, really severe detriment, or maybe the few of you who are doing a Mars return right now. Okay, don't be shy. That's the downside of Capricorn, is shy and fearful and sometimes rigid. So don't try not to give in to the shyness, the fear, and the rigidity. The new moon is placed in the gate of revolution. That just gives me chills every time I see that. The choice is either maintain or restructure the community. If weakened Mars is keeping you apathetic, anxious, or otherwise frozen, use the sextile to Neptune. This is the worst case, in my opinion. The worst case, if you're really feeling apathetic, anxious, or otherwise frozen, sink into that Neptune, and then that one brief day, I think on Friday, where you got the moon and the Neptune together, awesome day to just sink into that and go dream away. Imagine, maybe even do hypnotherapy or hypnosis. Great time to do self-hypnosis. I can teach you how to do that. But So that's all we have for the CIRF report portion. I appreciate everybody being here tonight. Let's see how we're doing in the chat room. No one you know is apparently back. This Leo's been having a bad year and is ready for a party. Yes. Well, that's Mardi Gras Day is your best bet. Is that part of fortune whips around sky pretty quickly. It's basically the position between the sun and the moon, and then it puts it on the rising sign and goes around and hits at a new moon, it hits the ascendant again. Do you see any, let's see, Hannah, do you see any astrological indications on why some people are fierce truth seekers while others are very easy to manipulate? Absolutely, and there's a variety of different ones. Let me see if I can get a better. Let's see. Let's go here. Probably this one might be better. Get back up into the astrology. So like gullibility, I think just in my experience, your Geminis, Aquarians, even Libras, very attuned to the mental side of things, gaining wisdom, thinking. It's just the whole thinking apparatus is strong with air signs. And then you've got the Uranus is in charge of, or just the uniqueness and insight and genius, but also wants to just be different. It wants to break out, wants to be free, different, no attachments. And that eccentricism is where you're going to get sort of a gift to Aquarians of not going with the crowd. The other thing that's not really astrological is birth order. What might surprise you, this might be worth some study to see if see if there's more Aquarian secondborns than not. I mean, if there's like a coagulation of secondborns. So I'm a secondborn, and I also happen to be Aquarian, so I've got that black sheep in me from being the secondborns, just stubborn, and I just don't want to go along with the crowd and all that kind of stuff. But we all have elements of gullibility, and as I think past here, I think the other thing to keep in mind is that a lot of people are driven by the deep emotions they feel. And you can see me pointing to more of the water signs. And these energies or these natal charts, heavy in water signs, can really feel guilt-tripped about doing things. And thus, their behaviors will be more commensurate with the collective good. Your biggest self-deprivation sign is going to be Pisces. They're the self-sacrificers of the whole zodiac. And Neptune is at home, so Neptune represents some of that same energy. But anyway, hopefully that answers it enough. Michael says, Chris, avoid polarity and Patriot versus Democrats. It's a no-win. Solution is an above perspective. I don't like polarities. I don't like the us versus them. I'm an Aquarian, so I do like the collective good. I'm somewhat of a mediator. I think the biggest mediators are going to be the Libras. In my opinion, there's some other talented archetypes around, but I don't like I hate conflict. And what's bizarre is I was in the military, but I got this sense of sort of senselessness as I was fighting in my later years in the military. Like, why are we here? I can hear the intel, the standard, the terrorists are here, and why, what are we doing here? And I never really got a solid answer. This is when I was in the higher echelons in the military. But I'm not a big fan of conflict. I think a lot of it's contrived. It is that us versus them mentality that they sort of program us with. Air signs, I think, are most resilient against programming, but everyone is programmable. It's just a matter of how much, and then how much they give away. Not a fan of the gulag, says no one you know. Good. No, okay, yeah. No one you know cusses. It's held for review. Joy says, anyone else having their Saturn return? I'd have to actually look at mine. I'm not really sure about me. Hannah says, thank you from Denmark. Thank you for being here. I hope I pronounced your name right. Hannah or Hannah or... But I'm appreciative that we have folks from all over the world. And I know we have some Canadians too. Jenny says Aquarian moon here, and I'm a third child. Okay, so you've got the mediator probably in you based on that third. How many children, Jenny? How many total children? And how many years between you and the second born? Those would be key indicators. Okay, Dustin says there is an underlying tension like a wound spring. Does this show up? A wound spring. Not sure what that means, Dustin. There's an underlying tension. Oh, a wound spring. Ah, yeah. That's this. That's that. Okay, so there's a really good video earlier that I can't remember how long ago. I think it was in mid-December, and the question was how long before the end of the squares. And what it shows is, I'm trying to remember the dates, but the last square, the next time that you're going to see a case in the sky, an alignment where there's no square in the alignments anywhere, is like, I think it's like December 22. I think. Don't quote me on that. It's a long time from now, and it mainly has to do with this Uranus and Saturn. And then Uranus got done with the retrograde, keeping it alive, and Saturn's going to go into retrograde and stay in stay in Aquarius for a lot longer, and all that. But it's the square. But the good news is that the majority, we just went through a period of lots of squares, and that's that wound up spring. It's the pressure, a wound up spring would be, that's interesting. I just worked with a spring. I had a damaged spring, and I had to use tools to get that spring stretched out enough to wrap around its holder. That's really interesting that you use that spring. That's really key for me. I'm going to have to look at that deeper. But anyway, it's these squares. And I don't know if, some people are calling for this Mercury retrograde when it goes direct. I think it's going to be free. Let's see here. Square. No, I don't think it's going to be free of square. So it'll still be squared when it goes direct. But some people are calling that the spring release. I think what you're seeing is a start of the more powerful energies, the energies that get the locomotive going again. Because we've been in conflict, major conflict in the skies, conflict, pressure, wound up spring, all that stuff I'm considering the same. The tension in here. And it was through the roof mid-December, and it climaxed right on January 20th. And climax meaning I couldn't even count all of the squares on there. I mean, there's just so many, unprecedented. And So now the good news is that's all tailoring back. We have, well, on this day, on the 16th and on 17th, that's the most you're going to see for a while. And it's going to start to deteriorate from there. By the time we get to end of February, you'll hardly see any, maybe just one square in the sky. And I think that's where the tension releases that people are talking about, but it's going to be a gradual. I don't see it just all of a sudden, just boom, the energy like explodes. I could be wrong. Of course, I'm willing to be wrong, but I think it's a sort of, maybe like a month-long, explosion, if you will, or vastly increasing powerful energy. I don't know if I answered your question. Starting my second Saturn return in March. Dustin says, tension everywhere, not me. I'm feeling fairly calm most of the time. I know it will go as is. I think that's great. And if you could, Dustin, if you're doing something for that, put that in the chat box, because that's important for others to feel. Not everyone is handling that tension well. I see it too. I see it in myself. But having it is not a bad thing. It doesn't make you horrible or weak. But recognizing that that's the important one. You don't want to be feeling this energy and then trying to pretend it doesn't exist and then pushing it away, and then you act like a lunatic. So being aware of it's okay for it to be there doesn't make you weak. But the awareness is what you want to keep a tab on, so that you can do something about that tension and not act unconsciously. Jenny, 3. Okay. There's 3 total kids. So you're last. And, okay. So you have 9 years between you and the second born, which means that you're probably, in terms of birth order, really more of an only child. And let's see. Well, only children are a little bit more perfectionistic, if you will. They tend to have nobody invading their room and destroying the Lego set that they had. So, like 5 years later, they can go back to their Lego set, pull it out. It was exactly the way they put it there. And that's sort of how they expect things to roll out in their real life. And they go, ooh, wow. They're not control freaks. The control freaks are going to be the more of the firstborns, but the only children are a little bit more owners of their space and don't necessarily like invaders. But it's not a stamp. It's not a, it's not a definitive thing. But anyway. And Shalami, how you doing tonight? Third child, I'm going through my 2 Saturn return, double Leo here, Taurus moon. Yeah, I think the 17th of February. Oh, I don't want to create a reality for you, but it could be insightful. Like I said, it could be genius is coming through your emotions. It's an energy, and it's so amazing how one energy can have a lot of different outcomes. But I think that's the difference between knowing it and being aware of it and not rejecting it. And then once you see it, doing something very specific, have a pre-planned behavior if you recognize these feelings. The other thing you can do is just allow the feeling to be there. And I don't know what's more advanced, whatever. The first option was sort of like not a channeling, but channeling the emotion, I guess is the quickest way to say that. Kat, how are you? Schumann resonance. Oh man, I forgot to incorporate that, but I've been busy. We're gonna incorporate some of someone else sent me on Telegram, sent me some things that looked very related, very juicy, good stuff for CIRF report. And the only thing missing was, can we get, reliable data ahead of time? It looks, I haven't had time to investigate it, but brilliant stuff. And I think they have you paid to get the data. So, I'll have to see about that, but the info looked really great. It was like cosmic waves and galactic waves, or space dust, or space weather, I think. So it looked brilliant. I mean, that's exactly what we want for these CIRF reports. But anyway, Kat says Schumann resonance has been super high this week, all in the white. High in terms of frequency, I assume. And that also is not necessarily a bad thing. And I'm not a Schumann resonance expert, but I do know that, or I think I know that it's lies the average Schumann resonance. It does change from time to time, or daily even. And it's basically an electromagnetic field that is good for our bodies, because our bodies were born from this field. And so anyway, and we've seen people get sick if they're outside of the Schumann resonance for too long, like such as astronauts. They get sick, so they have to pump the Schumann resonance in there. Well, anyway, this is where I don't know. I don't know what the outcome is or the influence is for super high Schumann resonance. That's what I don't know. Let's see. No one you know says hello, follow, Leo, rebel. A first child Libra, or Libra ascendant. Aquarius moon. Interesting. Born on a full moon. There's a lot of old wives' tales about that. Well, we'll repeat them here. But first child's going to be, no one you know, first child out of how many? And how many years between you and the number 2? Chris says, channel the tension into work. Yes, right. As long as you're not distracting yourself with the work. I think that one is more of a dissociation from the emotion. I think there does need to be take time to pause, and there's a process. There's a process where you can organize that energy, because if you like have anger, let's say anger, for example, and you're like, yep, I've got anger. Well, that's good. You're aware of it, but it's still chaotic energy in there. And it's really difficult to channel that into anything other than like working out or punching a boxing bag, or, punching someone's face, or slamming doors. It's hard to not do that. And so but you have to practice this. You can go into a meditative state, and wherever you imagine your energy, the energy follows. And so you basically have this circuit, and I call it the internal battery. So you take that anger, quietly assimilate it into ordered energy, and you make the intention of, you imagine what activity you're going to do with that energy, but you wait for it to assimilate and wait for it to, it's basically free energy when you get these moments, of deep emotion. So you capture that into your human battery, make your intention about how you're going to channel it, envision yourself doing it, envision the why of why you're doing it, and then go do it. Or you can wait and do it tomorrow. There's no energy, there's no chaotic energy that has to be disseminated now or dissolved now. It's already ordered. And your energy went from here. Where's my, oh, yeah, I'm over. It went from here to here. It's not like this huge amount of energy, but you'll notice that it's a little bump up, because you're captured. You didn't get rid of an emotion by yelling, screaming, throwing a tantrum, slamming the door. You're wasting energy with those things. And so anyway, yeah, I like that, Chris. All right. I think this is a wrap. I think it was a good night. And if you like this, make sure, I'm sure most of you already did, smash that up arrow. And I don't think we're going to get to another video. This certification thing is a full week long. It's like all day. And but I'll start getting some more energy back when we start eating tomorrow. So wish me luck. I'm just going to do it in a healthy way, because that flu feeling I got on that first day of fasting, I've never felt before, but it was a sign that I was putting too much crap into my body. No kidding. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. Thanks for your comments. And we will see you next week at a minimum, maybe more. All right. Bye.